This is a team who, if a single player missteps or underperforms, will find a way back into the game, even in situations that for a lot of other teams in the world would be unwinnable. But now we enter picks and bans presented by HyperX. Here's the big thing for me. Want to see if we get more of this priority on Keria's early champions. The Camille immediately banned, and what we've seen across every series thus far in MSI is this champion is a terror. Wouldn't surprise me if for main stage, she just becomes a perma ban.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it has been pretty terrifying. It's also one of these things where I think it is kind of more about the player than the champion, is my initial read. You know, whether or not that stays true, it's hard to know, but we will find out. There's just so many scary champions against Keria, and that's kind of the problem, is there's so many threats on T1 that you can't just throw all your bans in one direction and expect to win. You can't give Faker his Orianna. You can't give Keria his Bard. You can't give Keria, it feels like, his Camille now, but his Pyke has been nasty. Like, this guy's insanely flexible. It's just whatever he plays, he's going to look good, and people are going to be like, should have banned that.
And reminder as well, T1 coming in undefeated on the upper side of this bracket. They don't get the luxury of double elimination, but in this game one, they get the luxury of right of first selection both side and choosing whether they want to go on first pick. They've opted for first pick here. So T1 going to feel really comfortable in this draft, especially after they got to watch so much of what Team Liquid Alienware brought to the table yesterday.
Absolutely, and it is a really good point, that winner's bracket advantage. You know, I was talking about it with Spawn on the desk yesterday. You know, he was mentioning it is about a 58% win rate for teams that both get blue side and first pick, which is, you know, what you are going to see here for T1. So even just not paying attention to the nameplates, it is a significant advantage to be first pick and blue side, and T1 have earned that by not dropping a single game in play-ins. They came in the favorites, they've looked like the favorites, and we have left Bard up
for Keria.
All right, let's remake. It's 1-0 T1.
Okay.
Well played.
There you go.
Well played.
58 just became 100%. No, certainly Keria on this Bard. Well, there's a lot of Keria's champions that could feel a little unbeatable, but this is a champion that can be incredibly terrifying and already kind of signals to Team Liquid, hey, you cannot be picking immobile carries. Keria is going to find a way, going to find those angles and see if they have an immediate response, because they left this open. They knew what they were getting into.
Yeah, they absolutely did. And this is one of the things that, you know, TL has talked about at times, where they say, yeah, you know, you can flame someone for leaving a champion up, but sometimes in Fearless, to actually be able to win the whole series, you can't just permaban something the entire way through. So you come up with a good plan. You say, all right, this is how we're going to try to beat Keria's Bard. Obviously, that is a Herculean task. That's going to be incredibly difficult. But you come in with a plan. If it works, great. If it doesn't, at least you don't have to ban it for the rest of the series, and that is kind of the thought process that some coaches have had. But I'm excited to see what TL will bring out here, because Keria's Bard is insanely hard to stop. I will say, you know, there was a lot of criticism towards KC for leaving it up, but KC in that game were actually in a pretty good spot. And then Keria did Keria things and made them look silly, and they won the game, but kind of does that on Lost Champs.
Well, it's true, and sometimes Keria is just going to do Keria things, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't ban a player on the enemy team. If they could, I'm sure that he would be on the short list. Absolutely, but that's just not how the game works. It's just a reminder of how incredibly good he is individually. But as we go later into the draft, we see on the side of TL already really strong engage options here. Again, immobile champions might also be a concern for T1 when you see the J4 locked in, but an immediate response of Oner Xin, no stranger to the pick.
Oh, that guy's pumped up.
One of the signature options for him, I'd say. And now Peyz, interestingly, opting for something a bit safer. Maybe we see a game where T1 aren't actually playing towards the bottom side. Yeah, and I think the Ezreal makes a lot of sense, because I was going to say, you know, the classic pairing, if you are going to go Caitlyn Bard, you see that they are already showing Rell, you see that they're already showing Jarvan, and you have to pay some respect to TL, because I think their prep and drafting has been really, really good throughout this event. Even in the losses against T1, I thought they had draft advantages in a lot of those games. And so you're coming in, you're expecting to want to full send it, and maybe T1's read is you are hoping we will play a lower mobility carry, someone like Caitlyn who is more vulnerable that you can full send it on and really punish. So they are going to go the safer option, put Peyz on the Ezreal here. And he is a demon on this champ, as he is on many others. To me, so much of the series is just going to come down to, can Yeon and CoreJJ stand up to Peyz and Keria, because they are, in my opinion, without a doubt, the best bot lane in the world, and they were the clear issue in the last series as well, both in lane and in team fighting. They clearly outclassed TLAW's bot lane. They absolutely did. Of course, we've seen an uptick in performance. Those games that they've spent since losing to T1 have not been wasted, but it is a tight timeline to turn around. And it's not enough to compete head-to-head, but it might be enough to stem the bleeding and adjust. As we see Cassio taken away, paired with that Ryze ban, really trying to set up Quid to be comfortable. The downside is 80's dropping even lower, even further in the draft for Yeon, so a comfort pick isn't super likely.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm not that worried about AD bans in a game 1. I just think there's so many that can kind of slot into whatever. I'm expecting probably an Anivia ban as well. Ban out some of the common answers here to the Ryze. But, the question to me is, yes, Yeon and Core have looked much better. And I think Core, just in general throughout this event, even against T1, has looked way better than he had in NA. I didn't even have him in my All-Pro, to be honest.
Sure.
But the question is, when you have those other matches against DCG and KC, does that really transition over against a team like T1? Or is it just the level of competition is very different, right? Because T1 has outclassed everyone in play-ins by a lot.
Life would be so much easier if the transitive property really just worked 1-to-1 in League of Legends,
yeah.
But the comparisons are always going to be the hard point. But as predicted, Ezreal, we are going to see the Anivia taken off the board. Questions as to what Doran and Faker are going to bring to the table, especially Doran, right? Because that was one of the few lanes where Team Liquid Alienware were able to really just crush in the 1v1. Incredible performances from Morgan, a return to the Lord Morgan era at the start of the season. But Kai'Sa, historically, really good option into the Ezreal in the later stages. Those first few items for Ezreal still favor him, but Kai'Sa, champion who really doesn't care if Ezreal wants to play at a distance. She can get right on top of him.
Absolutely can, and this is a throwback. It's full comfort, for Yeon. He used to play this style a lot when the kind of dive metas, so they are going to be looking to full send it. They do think they were hoping that T1 would have gone for a Caitlyn or something easier to kind of get in on top of. Ambessa going to be blinded here for Doran, so the question is, what can Morgan go towards? The Ambessa felt a little bit obvious once we saw the Renekton ban. That's kind of the meta ban that you are going to throw out there as protection. Morgan has been incredible, and that is kind of the other side of this story, is people are looking at this and saying, it was really close. If only Yeon played better, they could have won. But you can't guarantee that Morgan is going to be chain solo killing Doran and that Jose is going to be getting advantages over Oner at times, right? Like, they played so damn well, and that is not easy to do. That is not a guarantee by any means against players of T1's caliber.
Absolutely, right? You need that simultaneous level of overperformance, or that day where they're able to match T1, go head-to-head, and you need that bot lane to step up. It's a lot of disparate variables. Part of the reason why T1's so heavily favored in the fan prediction, as well as I think by a lot of the analysts, right? Seeing how much TL have been able to step up over the last few days, what they'll be able to implement into their game.
No. They didn't even have a 50% win rate in predictions anymore. Pathetic.
The fan, they follow their hearts, Isaac, which, as we know, they're frequently wrong. We're humans. We make dumb choices all the time.
We err.
That we do. That we do.
My fatal flaw was loving North America too much.
My fatal flaw was believing in KC, so I think you're doing just fine as far as fatal flaws go. But we'll see if there are any fatal flaws in either of these teams' strategy or execution as we get ready for the first game in this series. Again, final series of the play-in stage. The winner will hot drop into the main stage and play against BLG. So the stakes are astronomical, and they're not stopping anytime soon.
It's going to be exciting here. And even though T1 obviously has that upper bracket advantage, that is getting spent in game 1. There is no reset on the bracket, anything like that. So if they lose, they are out of MSI, period. T1 never goes out early in tournaments, though. The worst they've ever done at Worlds is semifinals. Anytime they're in MSI, they're usually having a deep run. They're never knocked out before, the bracket stage, before that elimination stage.
The 2019 MSI that EU fans love to bring up, that's their worst result. Third, fourth.
Exactly.
Third after, once we got to double elim.
How many teams are left?
Yeah.
More than 3 or 4.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
Already seeing some early aggressive trading here in the bottom lane. Keria trying to make the most of that Bard level 1, getting the Electrocute proc down. A bit of chipping away, but both sides burning heal, so not the end of the world.
And a pot already used for Yeon, and he's going to be missing, about 100 HP as well on top of that, even after the potion does expire. So significant HP advantage there for T1. As Keria tries to predict with the Cosmic Binding, can't find it. And this is the difficulty, right? You can look at a matchup like this and think, great, we're going to do well later, just hold on. But that is so much easier said than done against these guys who are just so incredible at pushing the limits of every matchup and punishing on every minion. They're going to crash the wave, they're going to stack it, and then when it bounces out, well, guess what? You got to be able to fight them or you're going to be losing minion after minion after minion, and that's why it gets so hard.
And you can see Core doing what he can with that crash down, trying to get a little bit of space, but he knows that in these early levels, you're just not going to be able to match the power of the Ezreal Bard, both the range and their early kit strengths of their kits. A few more levels, maybe things can even out, but you said it, it's not easy to weather the storm. We like to pretend when we're not watching, when it's a lane that we're not in, hey, just hold on, buddy, it'll be fine, but always easier said than done. And you can see here, of course, Keria, some impressive numbers in terms of his individual games, and certainly a player we're going to be tracking across the entirety of this tournament. But first he has to make it through TL, and, well, he's done it once before.
But can he do it twice? That's the question on everyone's mind.
That's true. It's true. I will say Doran already looking a little bit more comfortable in his laning matchup. Last time we saw this up against Morgan, it was Morgan on the Rumble, so things are a little bit different this time.
Yep, and Keria now moving to number 3, 193 international games played, including this one, will put him into number 3, passing Xiaohu, a legendary LPL player. And here's that full list.
And this is the international assists. Some impressive stuff, as we see a little bit of footwork there from Core, but it's crazy to me because this, you know, edition of T1, the most latest one, is new. The one before that even feels new. Keria, of course. Nice job, production. Love the Animal Edition. I'm the GOAT of supports, and I like this for Keria because he knows it, and I like when a player owns it. And he's backing it up every time he steps onto the Rift. That's why we started shaking in our boots when we saw the Bard locked in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it is really, really cool to see him talk about that, right? Because, you know, he talked about how that had been his goal, is to become the greatest support in the world. And now feeling confident that he can say that he is. They're looking for a 3-man dive here. Yeon is coming back. What was that flash?
The magical journey. Took an awkward flash. Yeon trying to make it back into the tower, but I don't know if the tower's going to be safe for the redive because Peyz is just getting hundreds of chip damage for free. 2 minions left. Q connects. They're going to take down Core. Looks like Yeon might be next. Quick flash down from Oner, and he manages to live. Yeon doesn't seem to be long for this world. The Q just going a little bit wide, but now Quid looking for a bit of vengeance. Rune Prison goes down, but extra damage, and he gets one back in return. Good roam from Quid to salvage a super dire situation. Yeah,
really nicely done there by Quid, just ghosting down towards bot lane. He's going to catch most of the wave. I want to see this again. So this was after he had already wasted his flash. I'm not really sure what happened, if that was a misclick or if like he'd already spent his flash and it was a Hex flash I saw, but that looked bizarre there from Core. But Quid comes in. Oner had flashed out to actually dodge that turret aggro, otherwise he could have gone down to Yeon. So Quid knows he's going to be able to chase him down, get that kill, and you can see a little bit of look of frustration. So I think that was definitely a bit of an oopsie there from Core. But Quid, they gave him a lot of bans to help him out in this mid lane. They banned out the Ori, they banned out the Cassio as well as the Anivia, which are tough for that Ryze. And Quid is very adept on the champion and is going to be able to get an early kill, get that tier stacking right away.
And pressure on him now to transition that lead, because it also means that Peyz has been able to pick up that early kill, get that early sheen, the tier already stacking. Definitely a guy to keep our eyes on. Is Quid immediately going to flash forward. Follow-up is there, the flick back is there, but it might just be a little bit too late. The red buff is still ticking. Faker forced to flash away. But not getting the kill is frustrating. That's 2 flashes burned on the side of TL.
Exactly. They get both the flashes there. That is so good from Faker, being able to actually tank that gank. Had a really good timing on the flick back to be able to deny some of the damage as Jose was coming in. And in that picture-in-picture, we saw that Yeon lost his flash to Keria as he was trying to push out that wave after they had gotten the kill. And so Yeon is going to be very vulnerable as a result here. And Core and Yeon going to have to do their best to hold on.
Morgan on the top side. Observer's bringing us up. Might see the 1v1 here. Doran going to get knocked back. Just barely not going to clip the wall. Doran now trying to dash through. Pick up back on the house for Morgan. Wants that extra burst damage, but it's just not enough. Doran ticking over to 6. Has the vamp. Just shreds through him.
Nicely done there by Doran. You can see Morgan was trying to actually wait out the ultimate. Doran was trying to predict the ult and actually immune that with the buffer.
Keria taking a big chunk of damage, but has the magical journey to keep him safe across the map. Fist fights breaking out in the lanes, even without the support of junglers.
Yeah, and that is just so big for T1. You're already putting your energy into this bot lane, getting them ahead.
Peyz pulled back, 3 stacks. The second skin. We're now wandering and spotting out Josedeodo, but with his bot lane in such a comfortable position, it's going to be hard for Jose to contest this crab.
Yeah, I mean, Peyz also got the kill down on the bot side, and Yeon is down 2 full waves, so this is tough, but here comes Quid.
Morph is big. Bard the get out of jail free card here, but at least they'll be able to secure the crab. Faker roaming down, poking his head in. Josedeodo taking over to level 6 is pretty big. Maybe they can capitalize in mid lane. Faker very aware of where his opposition is, however. Josedeodo might not care. Cataclysm? Walking at him menacingly with a Fnatic Jarvan skin? The man has a lot of aura. You gotta respect it, but it is just gonna be an ult for ult trade.
Yeah, not the greatest there from Jose. Is going to lose that ult at the end of the day. So here it is earlier. And we can see Morgan tries to wait it out, then get that stun into the wall. Just barely missed it. Tries to flash in and actually go for a Q flash to try to just make it so it's unreactable basically from Doran. But then Doran flashed over that, is able to win out on that 1v1. And then Morgan without flash, of course, cannot retreat. Really slim margins in that 1v1. I think if Morgan gets him into the wall and gets the bonus damage, I think he actually has the kill.
And Morgan, remember, was a shining light for TL in the previous series as he now jumps over Keria's head, but there's just no way out. 4 members of T1 seemingly appear on the top side out of nowhere. Starts with a Cosmic Binding, but now Team Liquid want to turn this play back in their favor. Ulti forced out from Oner. the debate from TL, can they keep pushing in? Have to be careful fighting into that choke. And Faker has so many cooldowns up, so they will just back off, have to contest with that ult.
I really like how active Quid is being, though. He got early Swifties, and he is just running around everywhere. They are looking to scrap. We have heard TL and Quid in particular talking about how fast T1 looks to play, and that you need to be able to match that pace, because if you try to sit back, your teammates are going to get preyed on. They're going to be getting picked off left, right, and center, so you need to be as active as they are, and Quid is trying to do just that, tries to match the play towards topside, now moving bot to try to get behind Peyz, but he has a ward, and that should mean that he is going to be probably safe.
Yeah, Peyz should be fine, dodges the initial burst of damage, Root connects, but there's not really any follow-up there. Again, you can see that it feels like Quid knows how important it is that he leverage his lead. He's the only member of the team with a lead on the map, right? As dominant as Morgan was in the previous series. You know, we saw the stats briefly on the side there. Thus far in this first game, it just has not been the case. Even if the margins were close, ultimately getting the kill just puts Doran in such a comfortable spot as T1 almost 2K in the lead, only 8 minutes in.
And it's like I was saying in draft, right? You can't take that for granted. You can't assume that Morgan is always going to get those kind of leads against Doran. It's just not going to happen. Doran is too good of a player to always get that sort of an advantage over him. So, you know, both Doran doing better in the 1v1 individually, and then T1 putting a lot of resources up towards that top side to try to cover for Doran, make sure that without the flash he couldn't get ganked, and as a result they were able to actually kill off Morgan. So there really are trying to put more of an emphasis, I think, on this top lane, and that may be one of the adjustments that T1 came into today, looking to try to really polish up.
And thus far, they had the cake, and now they're eating it too, because not only are Peyz and Keria still winning on the bottom side, but they've also limited a strength that we saw previously. Again, it was an 0-3 loss from T1, despite that, up in CS, up in gold, and up in XP across the entire series. Not something we frequently see, a testament to how good Morgan was playing on the day, but Doran clearly coming back stronger and with a lot more support in this top lane. Morgan, Gnar back into the wall, but there's simply too much damage. Perfectly timed ulti from Keria as well, just to deny that extra tower shot.
Yeah, that is actually crazy. Turns off the tower there, because had that been a split second earlier, Morgan would actually be in that, you know, and maybe things could look a little bit more awkward, but beautifully timed there by Keria. They get another kill. It goes to Doran. Morgan has been put in the dirt, and Team Liquid just trying to get something back on the other side. Will get a dragon, but they're down 2,000 gold now already.
Dragon is the consolation prize for the top play, but it's tough, right? We already see that first item completion coming in from Doran so accelerated. 1K individual lead, Eclipse now finished. It's only going to make things that much harder for Morgan to just survive. And you see the swap now from TL. Core taking up home on the top side alongside Yeon, who 32 stacks left on that coal. Will start to get close to that first item completion.
Yeah, Oner, as you say, you know, another item coming in there for T1. And it's going to be about Team Liquid trying to find picks, trying to, you know, find some plays here, which is not that easy to do. You know, there are some targets that you want to go for. Obviously, the Ezreal will be great, but he's going to be hard to lock down. You know, Faker, you could try to look for him, but of course, if you overcommit, then you are going to get really punished by these melee champions in the front, right? If you're trying to dive through Doran and the Oner and you're ignoring Peyz to kill Faker, that could be really, really tough. So I do think Team Liquid is going to have to be absolutely on point with their engages. You got to make sure that you are pixel perfect as you're going in, or I think the fight's going to go terribly.
They do. Oner finds a control ward, but is spotted in turn. Morgan about to go mega, so I don't think we'll see a dive here, but just a continued threat. There's like no tier 1 tower is safe as Peyz going to cancel the reset. Maybe T1 opts to dive on the next wave, but it would take a ton of time. And Yeon already on the way. Keria further delaying the play, but I think just trying for a little bit of a tempo advantage there to deny the recall to top side.
Exactly. It's Doran because he's pushing top side. That is why he spent the ult there. Normally it's not worth it just to slow down a recall, but not only does this mean Doran is going to probably kill the full tower, you're going to lose at least a full wave if there wasn't already other minions dying there. So Doran's going to be able to get first tower gold off the back of that help there from Keria with the 3 grubs. That is such a nice play from Keria that I think a lot of people would not be thinking about. It just gives so much tempo. Now Morgan, who has been preyed on by all of these ganks, all of these plays, you know, got solo killed in a very close situation, then gets attacked in 4-man dove, 3-man attacked in the jungle and killed, and now he gets ulted there and loses the full tower. You're down 2K. Doesn't matter how well you play in the 1v1.
Cosmic Binding goes a little bit awry. All eyes on Keria. Bit of revenge for the early action on the map, but Peyz again still standing. Unconcerned that 3 members of TL are standing in his face, but a nice pick, a little bit of something back for TL.
But should he be concerned about the 4th member? He wasn't concerned about 3, but Quid is now down here, and they're thinking about going for this dive. Yeon is pushing it in, but Faker is moving, and so is Doran.
Triforce completed. TL betting a lot on this dive. Weaver's wall spotted. They're going to try to burst him down as quickly as possible. They get it done, and it looks like they're going to get out scot-free. T1 continuing to push. Nice flick back onto Jose. Doran sprinting into the play, but the ghost burn by Quid means TL are going to walk away. A nice dive to knock Peyz down a peg.
Yeah, that is actually really good couple of plays there from TL. They kill off Keria. They immediately pull off the dive onto Peyz. Quid is playing a brilliant game.
Alti, though. Quid might now be in trouble. Keria continuing to run forward. A bit of damage returned. Catalyst, a nice bit of extra healing, and could survive.
Doesn't even flash. That is a lot of confidence there. You know, knew the limits.
That it is, but Yeon might be in trouble as well. Q2, luckily the Sundering Slam does not connect. Josedeodo still here. Keria playing pretty aggressive for how little health he has. The ulti! I feel like sometimes T1 live 5 seconds in the future, and it's not fair. That was dangerously close. Like the Bard play earlier. God. Oh, they do! They live 5 seconds in the future!
Oh, man. I think they saw him walk into the brush there with that ward over the wall, very likely from Keria. Really well played by him. Again, just trying to delay. Doran does have to be a bit careful, has no ult, but Morgan, his Gnar is on cooldown as well.
Yeah, I think saw an angle, but maybe a bit over eager, but now it's Quid who's moving in. Keria forced to flash back. Core on the way as well. Flash forward. That's going to be the route. Another pick. This time onto Doran. The Mikhail's not enough to keep him standing. Keria hoping he can get a way out, but he just doesn't have the cooldown. TL grabbing another.
Man, what can't Quid do this game? Gets a shutdown. This man is playing 3 lanes and jungling at this point. Quid is on one, easily having his best game of the tournament so far in my view, but they are still down over 1,000 gold despite the heroics from Quid. Thankfully, Doran, you know, was shut down. They get the kill onto Keria. Morgan gets a little bit of gold back there. So, you know, Morgan just really needs to stabilize because he still has a lot of ways to go to even get towards that Triforce.
And he does. Josedeodo spotting Faker. Faker forced to back away. But yeah, even as we're watching that play happen, focused on the kills that are coming through, so many waves are being deleted by towers. So many plates chipped away at by Faker in the top lane, by Peyz in the mid lane. As mid lane tower falling, making that map feel a little bit smaller for the side of TL. So as good as those kills are to bring the game back a little bit closer, still have to play clean. Peyz locked up, E over the wall, flashed out of the Cataclysm. Yeon immediately going to chase, but Oner's on the way, and not before Yeon manages to take down his opposing number. Core trying to split as best he can. Josedeodo chasing Keria, and he manages to grab the kill. Oner now moving through too.
Here comes
Core
Morgan.
stepping forward, but it's all eyes on Quid to try and make the difference. Morgan moving in as well. Unraveled are stopping him from getting too far forward. Josedeodo looking for the 1v1 versus Faker. Red buff still procced. Oner on a killing spree, but will finally drop. Faker nowhere left to go. Jose grabbing the kill.
It's a bloodbath, Dracos. 15 kills, 15 minutes. What a way to start off the final series here of play-ins. And look at the patience from Yeon. Waits until both the E and the flash is used to go in with the killer instinct, knowing there's no escape there for Peyz. Oner does a good job taking him down, but then they have the extra man. Jose is just buying time here for Morgan to be able to come down to help them out. Quid is working on Oner, is able to finish him off, even though he just barely gets that kill onto CoreJJ. It's another great fight here from Team Liquid, who are just keeping things so scrappy in this game. They clearly have the idea to play at the same pace as T1.
There we have the coach reactions, and you're completely correct. I mean, ultimately, T1's still ahead in gold, I think, because of so many of the macro plays. Trading and evening of kills, you know, isn't going to put you too far behind. There weren't these massive shutdowns. It wasn't that big of a lead, but TL keeping it close makes a lot of the rest of the game feel much, much more contestable, especially Yeon is getting closer to that second item, and you can see why they would pick the Kai'Sa into this Ezreal. It's not going to be easy for Peyz to step so far forward, especially now that he's missing the flash.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be pretty scary. You can see Keria did rush for the Mikhails, so wants to have that cleanse, wants to keep Peyz safe because he is, of course, playing barrier. He's not going to be playing cleanse, so is going to be there with the perfectly timed Mikhails every time, it feels like. But we are seeing, you know, Morgan at least now relevant. Of course, still very behind Doran, his counterpart, who does have 2 items and is a terror. But you can see in the Coinbase gold grind, it's still a significant lead for Doran. But if Morgan can get to a point where he can at least stabilize in a side lane against Doran, and you can have a 4v4 fight, it's actually favored in gold towards TL, right? But that is a big if, because Doran is gigafed.
And that was one of the things that T1 did so well, even when TL had that gold lead, is find favorable fights in situations where it felt like it shouldn't have been possible. So, again, this is what we know. We heard from Spawn yesterday. Look, getting a lead is fine. Closing the game out, a different story. Really need to take it to the next level. And Quid, of course, on Ryze. is the centerpiece, is the focus, because the story for TL versus T1 at this tournament has been individual members stepping up, and today it's Quid's turn. He is the man who has this gold advantage, 3-0-2 on the way to a second item. Tier already fully stacked for the Seraphs to come in and can just be a massive threat in the fights. Yeah, it is really cool. And it's, even though Kai'Sa is not a new pick, you know, as far as the history of League. Sure. It is a new pick at MSI, and it's really cool to see TL just continually trying to innovate here to surprise their opponents. You're going up against T1. Let's be honest. This team has won 3 World Championships in a row. Like, you are the underdog, right? Like, you can beat T1 domestically in the LCK, and you're the underdog when you play in an international event, right? Of course, exactly. That's just the amount of that is the amount of success this team has on an international stage. Yeah, so you got to be coming out with your best in draft. You got to be looking for edges. You got to try to surprise them, because if you just play stock standard, the same game that T1 has seen 1,000 times, they're going to beat you almost every one of them. Just about. Of course, T1 continuing to push on that sideline. You mentioned it. Doran, so strong. It's difficult for anyone to match him, but TL kind of ignoring him, leaving on his lonesome, setting up Morgan to push top lane as they set up to crash the Herald mid, buying a bit of time, a little bit of trickery there. Drifting in now from Jose, now knocking up bigger, but he doesn't connect the tower, has to flag and drag out. It's a little bit messy. I like the look on the drift, but wasn't quite clean enough, and now he's going to pay the price. It won't just be Josedeodo in trouble. Nice ulti coming out from Yeon, though, to get away from Doran. Core dropping down as well. Faker with a double. T1 more than happy to punish. Yeah, that was really clever from Jose, but a little bit too clever for his own good. As he gets in the Herald there, the reason they don't just let it automatically crash, because he knows Keria's going to block it. So he drives it instead, spins around in the circle. Had he been able to actually get that into the tower, it would have been great, because he pops out away from the turret and gets the shield when you do pop out. So he would have been totally fine, but because of that misstep, it turns into a bit of a disaster. The gold lead doubles for T1. They both die. They lose control over mid lane, over bot lane. 2 towers fall. So it was a creative look from Jose, but just couldn't quite fix the angle when he wrapped back around. Looked like Morgan did grab the top lane tier 1, so at least a little bit of gold back for him. Doesn't make a difference in terms of the individual gold discrepancy between players, but a little bit closer to that second item. Again, good looks, but not quite perfect. And against T1, it really has to be flawless if you're going to go for something like this. It's a clever start, tries to make the most of it, but unfortunately the full commit starts to cost him. Yeah, I mean, it was really cool, but he just couldn't. You could tell he's trying to turn as fast as he can. And Shelly kind of goes through that tower, but he just couldn't quite get the angle, and then tries to flag and drag out. Core moved back up to get the locket down on him, and then they see Doran show up. This is a beautiful ult from Yeon during that cast time. That is the nurse to Ambessa in action. That increased cast time on the ult, uses that to Killer Instinct over the top of Doran, makes him miss. Otherwise, that could have been even worse, but Core goes down for the sins of Jose. And you're going to have to retake that driver's test, buddy. The fans are saying revoke his license, but guys, cars have turning radiuses. You guys are going to be out there flipping Miatas if you think cars could just turn instantaneously like that. You gotta chill. It's less about being able to turn faster, and it's more about you don't try that kind of turn, buddy. I see, yes. You're going down the highway, you don't just try to do fun fact, I don't have a license, so I don't know why I deemed necessary to speak in this particular moment, but yeah, I'm going to trust you on this one, Isaac. You have a car, you drive, you know things. That said, you dabble. Yeah. Look, it's still just a 2K gold lead. Yeah, I could have made that Herald work. I would say. I would have braked the stop sign personally, but I respect the play. Personally, I would have not gotten in the Herald. Yeah. I mean, where do you even drive the Herald from? It's kind of weird when you think about it. You're fully absorbed in its body. I think. And then you explode out the back. In order for this to be where are you coming from? No, I think we all know. I think we're not going to talk about it because it's a family-friendly show. TL, I'm not getting in. Copying a little something from the T1 playbook. It is the cheeky random Baron start, and T1, it's their playbook. They know this play. They dropped the ward over the wall. They saw them there, and TL immediately backed off. You can't sneak a 20-minute Baron against T1 because T1 is on their way to try to sneak a 20-minute Baron. That's the problem. They're already there. They're already there. They don't even know you're there. They're surprised. What do you mean, man, this is embarrassing. We were both trying to sneak it. We have reservations. Let's just leave. Let's just leave. This is weird. We'll take Dragon. Yeah. Which is come back in a couple minutes, try to sneak it again. Look, and them getting Dragon, not the best deal from TL, but they didn't all die at the Baron, so that's decent. Again, we check in on the items, a thing we do very often. 2 completed items for Quid, but has stalled out a little bit as Faker's also grabbed his second. And Ryze's not the biggest raw power spike, but certainly an incredibly annoying item coming out from Faker. And with Peyz doing so much damage, with Doran doing so much damage, he can opt for a utility item and still just be a giant pain for TL to try and navigate around. Yeah, we'll see.
exactly how TL are going to be able to play it out in these next fights. It is going to be Hextech Soul, but thankfully TL did get that one early Mountain Dragon, so they're not facing down Soul in 4 minutes. It is facing down Soul Point. Not something that you want to give for free, but at least it's not game-ending by any means if you do give over that 3rd Dragon. Whereas that 4th Dragon will be a must. You're going to have to contest that, I think, if you want to stand a chance. Playing against Ezreal and Bard and Taliyah with Hextech Soul is just, it's going to be GG. So we'll see what TL can do. Pace of the game has definitely slowed down over the last 7 minutes or so, but both teams are constantly posturing and looking for opportunities.
Yeah. Both teams, though, have done an excellent job not burning any major cooldowns, even when looking, when checking. See if any flashes come down here. Flash forward onto Faker. Immediate engage. Yeon coming over the wall. Faker now in trouble, but is able to flash out to safety. Oner, a beautiful disengage on the Crescent Guard, and now Keria locking down multiple members, looking to follow up. Morgan 1v1 off on the side, but it might not matter because Keria is now running for the hills. Unfortunately, Team Liquid spent so much to finish off a support, and now they're in trouble. Peyz flashing into melee range of 2 people. He is unconcerned. He is unstopped. Just continuing to free fire. A triple for the Ezreal.
Yeah, triple for the Ezreal, but Morgan is still alive. Quid has got to get out of there. They do get another kill, and now the Realm Warp coming through. Quid will be able to exfiltrate the hot zone, but not before 4 members from TL go down. It's a fight won by T1 by the slimmest of margins there. Morgan just couldn't quite get in to actually join the fight. And Quid not able to get that tiny bit of extra damage he needed to be able to finish off Peyz. That's the gold difference in action.
Still sticking around for a second. I don't think this is the play they're looking for, but they consider it for a brief moment. And you highlighted it was an initial start that looked pretty solid for the side of Team Liquid Alienware. Check it out again now. Starts off with Faker in trouble, but T1 recovered beautifully. Yeah,
it's a really nice Q flash in onto Faker, but they buy so much time for him here. The Ezreal ult goes through the whole team. Oner throws down the Crescent Guard to buy a lot of time, and then Jose and Yeon are already kind of chunked into this fight. Keria goes for a Q flash, which ends up being a rare misstep on the Bard. Whiffs on the Q flash, gets taken down, but T1 are back to live, back on Baron here. TL do know about it, but the question is, can they do anything about it? It's going down fast.
Ooh, Josedeodo no flash, and Keria does have ult. He's doing his best to disengage. His ulti doesn't connect. Jose, time to make the score better in the 50-50s. Jose trying to make the difference, but Oner! Once again, I look like 1 HP! This man refuses to lose an objective. Morgan in trouble. All of T1 descending on TL. Nowhere left to run.
And that is probably going to be enough here for T1. The ace Team Liquid. Oner wins another smite against Jose. It was down to 1 HP, but that is 1 HP too much for TL. And T1 wipe them off the map and take full control of this game here. They're not pushing for the end, but they are pushing 3 waves and looking to deal enough damage that this one is all wrapped up.
Breaking open the base. An incredibly confident take, trusting in Oner to win the 50-50, even if it's by the slimmest of margins. But T1, we saw in the previous fight, not afraid to play on the slimmest of margins. They always come out on top. TL maybe going to look for some exit kills, punish T1 if they're over-eager on recalling too soon. But what a dominant fight.
Yeah, I mean, the smite was so close, but the reality is you're going to lose the fight even if you get the smite, and that's more why T1 are willing to actually flip this. Core goes in, Hex Flash over, stuns up Oner, in comes Jose. The initial smite brought it to something above 1, and then it went to 1, 278, 1, and then. So I'm not even sure whose auto attack that was. I'm not sure if that was like a Jose auto Q that actually, brought that down, or a Q smite or something like that. But either way, it goes the way of T1. The reality is, though, I think even if he steals that, they're very likely to still get aced. Maybe the rest of the carries just back off or something, and you can get a couple Barons out. But unfortunately, that is not the way the cookie crumbles. And last time these two teams fought, Oner was winning every single 50-50. And he picks up where he left off in this series, and that's a backbreaker for TL.
Our production tracked it, right? 5-0, now 6-0 on those 50-50 exchanges. They're kind of...
It's kind of messed up.
Again, we got a lot of EU producers
Jose's
here.
a really nice guy.
He is a really nice guy. Really good Lee Sin. That's why T1 banned it. Maybe he'll get a shot at it in game 2. For now, though, survival is the name of the game for TL, and it is a tall task with a Baron-empowered T1 pushing in on the top side of the map. Flick connects onto Morgan. Charles Fish procs. Fitbit engage onto Oner. Yeon still living for an extra second. Snipe, though, coming through crucially onto Morgan. Seeker not going to connect. T1 losing a member, but are still going to break open the base. TP is there for Doran just to get into the fight. T1
Look poised to end it here.
Yeah, Faker is still coming out of base, so he's going to be running out there. The Dragon's on the map. Doran's going to whiff on the ultimate here. TL trying to hold on. They're looking for an engage with Core.
Wipe. Core right into the backline. Flash forward, looking to lock up with Peyz. Peyz too quick on the trigger, though. Manages to jump out just in time. Tempered Fate connecting onto 2. Keria looking for the perfect setup. Nails it onto Quid. Cataclysm across the team, and down goes the Ryze. TL found some good fights, but they could not get their footing in this game as T1 tear right through them.
A beautiful game one here from T1. TL made him work for it. They scrapped with him, but it was T1 in control, start to finish. It's them coming up in the big moments as they did in the last game. And what a turnaround here from Doran compared to Morgan. Desk, what do you think about it?